So, why is it a man wakes up after sleeping under an advertised blanket on an advertised mattress, pulls off advertised pajamas, bathes in an advertised shower, shaves with an advertised razor, brushes his teeth with advertised toothpaste, washes with advertised soap, puts on advertised clothes, drinks a cup of advertised coffee, drives to work in an advertised car, and then refuses to advertise, believing it doesn't pay. Yet later, if business is poor, he advertises it for sale. Why is it? So I read this quote every Sunday in my church's bulletin for as long as I can remember. It's anonymous, so don't know who it's from, but I mean it's pretty common. And so today I want to discuss with you the effectiveness of using advertisements and what kind of an audience advertisements are trying to reach. So to do this, I'm going to use one specific commercial. You guys have probably seen it, but I'm just going to pull it up for you. This is the director's cut.
With pulled pork on a cheeseburger. It's barbecue's best pair. The Memphis Barbecue Burger at Carl's Jr. and Hardee's. Eat like you mean it.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
Okay. So it's pretty obvious what kind of audience this commercial is trying to reach, judging by the looks on the guys' faces. I mean, but think about it. What do two supermodels have to do with a hamburger? You know, I mean, does seeing this commercial make you want to go drive over to Carl's Jr. and get that burger, or watch the commercial again, as it almost did? So I mean, it's ads like these that aren't really trying to sell the item so much as their company. I mean, with that commercial, you want to go now to Carl's to maybe check out some posters and maybe buy a burger there. Why not? I mean, either way, they have your business, so it worked. So since 2007, there has been a $270 million increase in spending for advertisements, says online source eMarketer. It is also said to double within the next 2 years because of the incline in technology. So, I mean, with what advertisements are using now, and we don't even know that we're being, bought in. So, I mean, with the more money that they're spending, I mean, we're not even going to notice that we're eating out of their hand. They're just going to be selling us, and we're going to be buying. So, in an article that I read called Men's Men and Women's Women by Steve Craig, he says that ads for disposable diapers are virtually never seen during a football game. Any more than commercials for beers are seen during soap operas. True advertisers of some products wish to have their commercials seen by the largest number of consumers at the lowest rates, without regard to age, sex, or other demographic descriptors. But most consider this approach far too inefficient for the majority of products. So, I mean, some companies don't target any specific audience as much as others, but they still use a certain tactic to try and get familiar with them. They still use a broad band. And although it's not really used as much as one specific audience, it's still out there. And so not to selectively pick on Carl's Jr., but another great example of one of their tactics is their new slogan, "We wake and bake every morning." So talking about their new breakfast biscuits, this new slogan has caused a lot of scandal among the families that go to Carl's Jr. and older generations. It is clearly not offensive in its own context, but in the context of people who are in the younger generation and maybe smoke some marijuana, it will mean something completely different. So no matter what kind of tactics advertisements are using, we seem to fall for them no matter what. And we should never underestimate a company's wits, because no matter what the product is, they always find a way of selling it to the consumer, and we end up buying it.
Thank you.
I can play the commercial. Okay, if you guys
Josh, what did you think?
I like the intro. Intro. I'm not getting to the video. Don't worry. I thought it was really straightforward. What a thesis was. Obviously, most of us like the visual. The sources were stated well. I liked it was really organized very well. I thought it was a pretty good one.
Love the speech this right?
Speech was great.
You're just talking about that commercial.
No advertising.
Those burgers. Get a cut.
All right. Well, I know the subject is advertising. I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of the speech is, what you're saying about advertising, and I didn't really pick up an organizational structure either in the preview of the material or in the body of the speech. It sounded like some random observations about advertising. They're interesting, and you've got the visual, of course, you've got the ad that you run that's obviously attention-grabbing, and people are still talking about it here after your speech is over. So that obviously works to get the audience's attention and involved. But it's a single illustration of a concept, and I'm not sure if there aren't other techniques that are being used. It's like you said, at one point you don't want to sound like you're picking on Carl's Jr., but maybe you are picking on Carl's Jr. Do they use cutting edge techniques a little bit differently? Are they more frequent in the tone of their advertising? Is it more obviously sexual or contemporary or drug referenced? I don't know. And if that's what you wanted to talk about in the presentation, then that should be a little bit more obvious in the opening part of the speech. I did like that you had a couple of professional citations where you were presenting some information, but I felt that was a bit underdeveloped. The visual materials, basically, it comes down to the one ad that you've got, and I'm sure that it's memorable, but I think that you need to have a little bit more content to the speech. The delivery, I think you do a very nice job talking to the audience. You seem relaxed and you engage in the audience. You do sometimes have that piece of paper up there a little bit too obviously, but the way you're speaking and the flow of your voice and the natural way that you're delivering the speech, I think you're doing a good job on those kinds of things. I think that, like I said, I think that you've got a good idea here for a speech, but you need to do something more with it. I like the idea of maybe talking about advertising that uses cutting-edge sexual references or is very explicit in the way that they sexualize products that don't really have anything to do with that. Maybe you could talk about something along those lines. Or, for instance, maybe just talk about Carl's Jr.'s and Hardee's whole philosophy of advertising and how it's developed over the last few years. Ever since Carl died, we don't see the friendly pitch man anymore. What are we seeing? We're seeing, sex and drugs and rock and roll selling hamburgers, that kind of thing. And I think that might have been an interest, and has it worked? Have they improved their sales? Have they expanded their market share? All those kinds of things. That would be something that I think would be interesting.